Hello everyone, and welcome back to a brand new SkillCapped guide. I'm Carnage, and today I'm going to be teaching you all 10 of the best aiming tips, tricks, and secrets so that you all can improve your aim. Alright, so I'm sure that all you understand why aim is so important, but we have to remember there are a ton of factors that go into your aim. So remember, simply doing one of these tips is not going to make you a god level aimer. It's going to take a lot of practice and dedication if you want to become a headshot machine.
And if you're serious about improving, then go to SkillCapped.com to unlock our hyper improvement system that will teach you how to win more gunfights, master your agent, and so much more. Backed by our rank improvement guarantee, you have nothing to lose. So come join over 500,000 satisfied members of SkillCapped, improve that KDA, and get the rank you've always wanted at SkillCapped.com, link in the description below.
Without any further ado, let's hop into tip number 1. To start, we're going to be talking about one of the most basic factors of your aim, and that's your sensitivity. Your sensitivity is pretty important, but it is mostly a preference thing. To be able to understand better, I'm going to be using EDPI as a measure of your sensitivity. You can find your EDPI by multiplying your mouse's DPI by your sense. Now that we're all on the same page, it is important to make sure you're playing on a sense that is not too outlandish. For a reference point, the average pro EDPI is 269. Working your way to a sensitivity within this 2 to 400 area is a solid way to know you have a decent sense. Again, remember this is mostly preference, so if you realize you play better on a high sense, then by all means go ahead and use that higher sense, but keep in mind you want to be able to maintain your accuracy as well. Now that you've found your sensitivity, let's talk about a foundational part of improving aim that doesn't get talked about nearly enough. This is tip number 2, which is stick with the same sensitivity and settings. If you're trying to work on your aim, you need to understand that many of these settings aren't going to affect your performance that much, but changing these settings often will affect your performance. As you work on your aim and as you play, you are developing muscle memory. Your brain is learning that if it moves the mouse a certain amount, your crosshair will move a certain amount as well. After enough reps of this, your brain will become much quicker and much more accurate. Changing your settings resets this progress and just puts you back. So instead of constantly switching your sensitivity and settings, try to stick to the same ones and work on that muscle memory. Now that we have all the settings talk out of the way, let's hop into tip number 3 that shows us exactly how to train our aim within Valorant. When in Valorant, you can click this button to head over to the shooting range. Here, you can use a couple of cool tools to help work on your aim in a stress-free environment. The first and my personal favorite drill to work on is the bots in the shooting range. You can click F3 to control the options of these bots and make them do various things such as strafe. Simply sitting here and flicking from bot head to bot head will help improve your aim. As you master this strategy, you can then turn strafe on and practice on some moving targets. This is the best way to practice without having to load into a game, and it gets even better. You can even train your recoil in this same area. Head over to this target and set it to 10 meters. Now spray and try to fit all of your bullets in the bullseye. As you get better, you can move the target further and further away until you become an absolute laser beam with your weapons. We do have to remember maybe not everyone likes this type of aim training, so I went ahead and found a couple of alternatives that you can use outside of Valorant. What I'm talking about is third-party aim trainers. There are multiple aim trainers you can download and practice from. One of the most common is called Kovacs. Within aim trainers like this, you can practice everything from flicking to tracking your targets. So if you're getting tired of shooting Valorant bots in the lobby, maybe consider downloading one of these third-party aim trainers to help give you another way to practice your aim. Okay, so we've talked about all the ways to practice your aim, but there is something you need to do before you load into a comp game no matter what. I'm talking about warming up. This could even be something as simple as hopping into the practice range for 10 minutes before you queue up for your game. This will not only warm your muscles up, but it will also refresh your brain and give you a much better chance to perform well in your match. The first couple of rounds of a game can be extremely important, so using these to stomp on your enemies is much more effective than using the first few rounds to warm up. Simply just do something to warm yourself up and practice your aim for just a little bit before you play. And also, be sure to remember the classic saying, practice how you play. Don't warm up by messing around and slowly shooting at bots. Make sure you are truly trying during this warm up so that you can get ready for how you are going to play in your actual match. Heading into tip number 6, we're going to talk about headshots and why you should always be aiming for the head. Headshots are the most powerful thing in all of Valorant. With a Vandal, for instance, you can instantly grant yourself a kill simply by hitting the enemy's head. So instead of using 3 to 4 bullets shooting at someone's chest or legs, shoot 1 bullet towards the head. Obviously, this is easier said than done, but let me explain how you can use this info correctly. While you play, purposely aim at an enemy's head when you get into a gunfight with them. This might be tough at first, but this all comes down to muscle memory. Once you can get your brain used to readjusting to the head level, you can make it something you don't even have to think about. And while we're on the topic of readjusting your crosshairs, let's go ahead and talk about crosshair placement. This happens to be tip number 7, and trust me when I say crosshair placement might be the most important thing that I teach you today. First, let's talk about what good and bad crosshair placement is. This clip here is a player taking a site with bad crosshair placement. They're aiming very low, not pre-aiming at doorways, and seem generally unaware. This next clip, however, shows the player keeping their crosshair at roughly head level, checking all possible angles, and staying alert of any area an enemy could peek from. Can you guess who has a better chance of winning a gunfight if an enemy appears? It's obviously the second player. Keeping your crosshair at head level is the key part of this. If your crosshair is already at head level, you will only have to horizontally adjust your aim rather than adjusting both horizontally and vertically. And our final tip for crosshair placement is just try to predict where enemies will peek from and get your crosshair ready. This is one of the most underrated ways to make aiming easier for yourself. Now for tip number 8, I just want to remind you that you should be practicing with every single viable weapon in Valorant. Simply practicing with a Vandal is not going to be enough to consistently improve your aim at all times. You'll probably be better with a Vandal if it's all you practice with, but using all the guns to practice can be super good, especially when you realize most of their recoil patterns are similar. All this is going to do is put you in a better position when you end up having to use a different weapon or maybe end up in a sticky situation. If you've practiced with all the weapons, you'll be more prepared and ready to go whenever one of these scary fights presents themselves. Moving on, let's talk about tip number 9. This is going to be play deathmatch a lot. Deathmatch is one of the best ways to improve your aim if you go into the games with that being your sole purpose. As you play deathmatch, consciously remember to aim at heads and try to stay consistent and deadly with your aim. This is basically a guaranteed way to improve your aim as long as you spend a good amount of time in here. I would even go as far to say that deathmatch is way better for you than a competitive game is for improving aim. The reason this is true is because you end up in a lot more fights, which gives you many more reps, and also it is much faster, so you can fast track your aim improvement. And finally, here's number 10, which is more of a teaching lesson than it is a tip. If you watch through this entire video, you obviously care about improving your aim. So I'm going to teach you about the 2 types of aiming that many people don't talk about. Our first type is wrist aiming. This is where the player sits their wrist on a mouse pad and uses their wrist to control the mouse. Many of these players play with a higher sensitivity. Our second type of aiming is arm aiming. This is where the player sits their entire arm on the mouse pad and moves their entire lower arm to aim at a target. If you're serious about improving your aim, I would recommend trying out both of these aiming styles and see which one is more comfortable and consistent for you. This way, you can get your aim just a little bit better. And remember, if you want to improve, win more gunfights, and get the rank you've always wanted, then check out SkillCapped.com, link in the description below. Alright, so we went on a little tangent there, but that's it. We went over 10 of the best tips and tricks to improve your aim in Valorant. Which tip did you find the most useful in this guide? Let me know in the comment section down below. And while you're down there, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the SkillCapped Valorant channel so that you can keep up to date with the best Valorant content here on all of YouTube. That's going to do it for this one. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next one.